I just got done watching Tusk, and I kept thinking the title was Walrus. Like as I was preparing to record this, I almost said Walrus. Tusk is a movie that completely flew under my radar, or whatever the saying is. I didn't even know anything about it. I hadn't even heard of it or knew it was in production or anything. I don't even know if it was in theaters or if it was independent or what. My friend told me about it a few years ago when it came out, and I've been meaning to watch it since, but just kept forgetting. The way my friend described it was this guy turns into a walrus or something, and I was like, well, that sounds pretty weird. I should check that out. Somewhere along the line at work, I remembered to watch it, so a couple days ago, I tried watching it, and initially, I couldn't get past the first 5 minutes. I didn't like the characters immediately. It was Justin Long, and it was weird seeing Haley Joel Osment, but they were doing so. Hey, we're wacky, you silly podcast guys. The Nazi party was what they called it. I just thought that was just really stupid. I don't know if they were supposed to be likable or not, or the whole thing was they're doing shock humor, and so that was supposed to be funny, or it was supposed to be that they suck and you're not supposed to like them. I don't know. I get the feeling I was supposed to like them, but I didn't. And they were watching that video of the Kill Bill kid, obviously a Star Wars kid parody, but the dude cuts his leg off or whatever. And I thought that the joke of the video was that how bad the animation was, or not the animation, but the special effects. But no, apparently he was supposed to have actually cut his leg off. But I was still like, okay, maybe it just starts off bad or whatever. Because I didn't know he was a podcast guy or anything. I just thought it was some dude slowly becomes a walrus. But I kept watching it, and then he goes to Canada, and the part that made me he goes to Canada to interview that kid that cut his leg off because that dude was Canadian. And I almost couldn't get past the whole, you got your Canada dudes and your Canada don'ts. I was just like, oh, shut up. It's just that kind of humor I don't like. And and then it was like the dude said, I don't really follow hockey, and the guy's like, okay, and he starts being a total asshole to the guy because he doesn't follow hockey. He didn't say fuck hockey, you faggot. He said I don't really like hockey, but I don't know. Apparently Canadians have a big boner for hockey. I don't have a boner for any sport, so the whole thing was stupid. I thought the whole movie was going to be like this bad, quirky comedy, because that's what it comes off as. It comes off as a bad, quirky comedy at the beginning, and so I just stopped watching it. Well, I got bored today, and I was like, well, I really want to see this movie. It's supposed to be really weird, and so I kept watching. And the dude eventually ends up find some ad or something about this weird dude who's giving you free lodging if you listen to his stories or whatever. And my big problem with the movie was that the first hour, not quite hour, but the first 45 to 50 minutes is incredibly boring. I don't like the main character. He's just this douche supposed to be, yeah, what's up, this confident, stupid douche, and I don't know if I was supposed to like or hate him. I really didn't like him. I didn't hate him. He wasn't interesting enough, but I really didn't like him. And I just wanted him to shut up. He kept making these bad, sex jokes and all. He was a lame dude. And it still had that quirky comedy feel that I never would have watched. Something like Horrible Bosses or something like that, which ironically I have seen and I fucking hated it. But he gets to the dude's house, and it's this old dude. He does everything like this. And I found listening to that old dude kind of insufferable, because he was just telling these long, boring stories. But the dude was like, man, that's really interesting. Yeah, keep going. And then he's got the dude gave him drug tea, so he starts I'm kind of falling asleep here, and he's not even a little bit curious about it. He's just like, yeah, I feel kind of weird. He doesn't even do that. If you suddenly start to feel like you're gonna pass out or something, you'd be like, what's going on with me? He completely ignores he's obviously been drugged, which is predictable, and reminded me a lot of the human centipede in a lot of ways. Some weird old dude in a mansion not in America with people from America. being operated on. I mean, I'm pretty sure this movie probably never would have existed without Human Centipede. I mean, it's very similar, but it's not like a rip-off at all. It's not the same movie, but definitely similar. And it goes in that flashback he has of like he shouldn't go to his girlfriend's trying to convince him to not go to Canada, and I think directorially that was well done. I think that the movie was directed and written and acted well. It was just a lot of things I didn't like. I just didn't like a lot of things about the movie. That whole scene, and mainly because I didn't like him. He's all like, she's like blowing him. He's like, I'm not gonna keep doing it unless you go to Canada. And he's like, hey, I'm gonna start jacking off. She's like, yeah, get a selfie. I mean, it was just hard to fucking listen to. I mean, it was. It was stupid, and then he's like switching the stupid Latino accent because she's supposed to be Latino or whatever. I never would have known if they didn't say it because she just completely looks white. But and she's like, "Will you stop trying to be funny? Like tone down the funny. You're so funny." I mean, he's not funny at all. I mean, I don't know. Just the dude sucked. I didn't want to see good things happen to him, but I didn't like the antagonist either, the old dude. It's kind of interesting later on though, when he starts to become the walrus. The movie does get more interesting because the old dude kind of drops this like I'm a wholesome seaside whatever, and like just starts being weird and like making fun of him as he's crying and stuff, and that gets interesting. And seeing him operate on him as he's turning him into a walrus, that part is all interesting and weird. But the dude, like the whole time he's doing it, he goes on this long soliloquy of the ills of man, and it's just parts of it were really boring. But what kind of lost my train of thought here. But eventually, he just completely, the dude just like gets like he becomes like a fleshy looking walrus, and like he can't talk. He just starts screaming and stuff, and he's kept in this weird like zoo like looking area, like where you would see a walrus that's like in that dude's basement of his mansion. And that part is interesting as he's just sitting there screaming, and the dude's like, "Yes, you are a walrus." But at some point, or when all that's happening, the worst scene of the fucking movie, yeah, because I was thinking that the movie was starting to pick up and get watchable, but then it just completely turns gears and becomes fucking like awful. There's this like long, like sustained, like one shot, like one take thing of the girlfriend going on this long fucking soliloquy of how she needs this mystery person that she's supposedly talking to, and like you were there for me when that jerk, he just keeps ruining my life, and I can't deal with it. Like it's just this long like woe is me, I'm not going to be tortured by this jerk anymore, I can't live without you, to the mystery person, which is obviously the friend that does the podcast. Called it immediately, it's pretty obvious. But and she like starts tearing up, and it's like, I don't know, it's like it was supposed to be her Oscar audition or something, but that was boring horseshit. I almost stopped watching the movie because of that right there. Worst scene in the movie, one of the worst scenes I've seen in the movie in a long time. But not in like a memorable way, just in like, God, this is heavy-handed in a completely unrelatable, stupid way. I really didn't like her. She was just like the over-emotional hot shit character. But the movie really picks up. He eventually, the dude who becomes a walrus, I'm not trying to do a summary, but he eventually gets word out through like he leaves a message on his girlfriend's phone that he's been kidnapped or whatever. So then they go to Canada and look for him, and eventually they meet the Johnny Depp character, who's like a Quebec detective who's been looking after this serial killer that does this to people. He's the only character I liked in the entire movie. Like, he talks weird and it's funny, and he looks weird, and I like Johnny Depp. So that his character is actually kind of funny and interesting, and weird, and he's not like relatable or anything, but he's just, he's interesting, and he tells like some stories, and there's also like a lot of flashbacks in this movie and stuff, but his are actually kind of funny and interesting, where he actually meets the serial killer dude, the old guy, but he's doing some other persona, and it tricks him, and blah blah. But Another horrible part of the movie was during the flashback of him like having sex with his girlfriend. It like does this close up of his face, and he's like, oh, like moaning sexually, and I was just like, what are you trying to like? Are you just trying to make me hate the movie? And it does that as a transition to him waking up from being drugged, which from a directorial quality, it's well done. But I don't want to watch him go, oh, I don't want to watch his O face. But and then the end was incredibly anticlimactic because then the dude, I think his name was Wallace. The movie could have been called Wallace the Walrus. But Wallace is like fighting with the guy, the old guy. I can't remember what his name is. Supposed to be like Howard Howe or something. He had a lot of personas, and he's also in a walrus suit thing. And they're like, he's trying to get him to turn into a walrus. You have to use your survival instincts. Well, all the while it shows like off screen like Johnny Depp and the girlfriend and his friend with their guns, and they're like, oh, they're gonna find him. There's gonna be the climactic end. But then before they even get there, the guy ends up stabbing the dude to death with his tusks, and so the villain is killed before the final confrontation or anything. I guess it is a final confrontation, and the movie could have ended right there, I guess. But the joke, well, not the joke, but the movie, like one of the movies, he's now mentally become a walrus. So then at the end of the movie, it kind of cuts to like a year later thing. It's like, oh, what happened to him? And he's now at an exhibit in Los Angeles or something, and he's just completely become a walrus. And his girlfriend's like, I love you, and then it shows some flashback of her being like, I wish you'd cry more, and then him as a walrus, he starts crying, and the movie ends. I thought the ending was stupid. I think it would have been better if like he like gets a surgery to restore himself or whatever, and like now he has to live like as this like this post walrus transformation. I identify as a walrus. I'm walrus queer and walrus fluid, also walrus androgynous. Uh, this movie was promising. Not what I expected in a way, and also in a lot of ways what I expected, but well, no, in some ways, but mainly not really what I expected. But I was able to predict a lot of things, and the movie was just it could have been a lot better, and is borderline unwatchable until about halfway through.